Good evening, and welcome to Grace Space. Grace Space is founded on the principle of a safe space for people to share information. We want to enlighten and encourage our audience. We have a holistic approach to health and healing mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. We always begin our program with prayer. Lord, we thank you for this day. We ask that you continue to cover, protect, guide, and direct us. Please provide comfort for our souls, clarity of thought, and allow your will to be done in and around us. Lord, we ask for your continued mercy and your continued grace. We are living in troubling times, and we know that we need to lean on you, trust you, and believe in better days. Lord, bring comfort to the hearts of those that are grieving, encouragement to those that are feeling hopeless, and help to those that are in need. We pray that you will provide all of our needs, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial. Lord, be in and among us for this podcast. In Jesus' name, amen. I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you for coming. For those of you that were here last week, we had a little bit of technical difficulty, and we were wrapping up our podcast on narcissistic relationships. So to close that out, I want to give you some suggestions on things that we can say and do to help people that are in troubled relationships. One of the things you can do is assure them that they are not alone, that you're here for them during this tough time. You can also let them know that while it may be difficult for them to believe it, the way they're feeling right now will change. It's a good idea to ask, what can I do to help you? To let people know that even though you're not able to understand exactly how they feel, you care about them and you want to help. It's also important to let them know that you value them and that they are an integral part of your life. Also, try to be encouraging. You may want to tell them that if they will hold on just a little bit longer, whatever they can manage, whether it's holding on for another minute, another hour, or another day. When we're in relationships with people that are going through some things, whether it's a toxic relationship or depression, anxiety, we have to make sure that we speak up for ourselves. Honest communication is key. You also have to set boundaries, because sometimes in caring for others, we don't care for ourselves, and then our health will suffer. We want to make sure that you stay on track with your own life, and also that you seek support as needed. Some examples of a toxic relationship or toxic behavior, or when you're in a relationship with someone who is toxic, they will be insecure, jealous, negative, self-centered, selfish, critical, demeaning, distrusting, abusive, or disrespectful. Healthy relationships result when someone is secure, loving, positive, giving, selfless, encouraging, uplifting, trustworthy, compassionate, and respectful. And so we want that for ourselves, and we want that for our loved ones. And I've got 2 Bible verses I want to share. Hebrews 10:24-25. And let us consider how we spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. And 2 Corinthians chapter 1, 3-4. Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God. Amen. Tonight we're going to focus on health and what we can do to improve our health. We have as our special guest tonight, Cynthia. And Cynthia has been, I'll let her tell you, she's been in the medical field for quite some time. And I want her to talk a little bit about particularly the health issues that impact our community. Things like high blood pressure, diabetes, and kidney issues. Cynthia, I want to turn it over to you if you want to give us a little background on your experience in the medical field and touch on those areas.
Hello, everyone. God bless. I'm Cynthia, Jada's sister-in-law. I've been a physician assistant for almost 30 years, and I've worked in primary care. I've specialized in surgery, vascular surgery, and currently I'm doing urgent care and occupational health. One of the reasons I went into medicine was because I saw so many of our people being left behind. So many of us didn't know things to do because we hadn't been taught. And in these days, oftentimes we have been taught, but we just keep going, and we as women often put everyone else in front of us and not really taking care of our health, and our health comes in last. So I would like to focus some of our time on just learning to take care of ourselves. One of the examples I often give to women and men is the airplane stewardess words. So most of you guys have probably flown in a plane, and you know that when they talk about the oxygen coming down, that you've got to put the oxygen on yourself before you put it on the children. So because of that, if you are unconscious, you cannot help the children. And that same thing applies to many other areas of our life. So if we're healthy, we'll be around longer to do things for our children and our grandchildren and everyone else. And it's much easier being healthy and able to get around like we want to get around. You want me to keep going?
I'd like you to share some of your information regarding high blood pressure and what people are doing wrong and the things that they can do to improve and that condition in their lives.
So with high blood pressure specifically and diabetes, and this goes for both, the first treatment is actually not medication. The first treatment is diet and exercise. And by diet, I mean changing what you eat. So I previously worked 6 months on helping people to change their diet and exercise to get their blood pressure under control. And many also lost weight because you will lose weight if you start eating better. And by that, I mean not eating as much junk. So what do I mean by junk? Pre-prepared food. So everyone knows the difference between like a Kraft macaroni and cheese with all of that stuff in there and macaroni and cheese that you make at home. Believe it or not, even though the macaroni and cheese you make at home, it probably has more calories, it's healthier. because it's actually made from natural ingredients. So if you all are anyone in their 50s and 60s, if you remember in the 60s and 70s, you really didn't see many people over 300 pounds. One of the reasons I think women at that time were wearing girdles, and it was just too difficult to actually overeat. That girdle would kind of preclude some of that. But you rarely saw anybody over 300 pounds because we were eating real food. And they have changed the food so much that our bodies don't know how to deal with it. So for those of us who find it difficult to cook, batch cooking is a great thing. If you have a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday afternoon, cook a couple of things, So if you like to eat steak, cook 2 steaks, okay? And so one you can put up and use later. Cook a bunch of hamburger because, you can chop it up like you're going to put it in tacos and something, and don't spice it up, because you can freeze portions of it and then put the different spices on it, and you can have all kinds of different meals with that one thing. But what takes the longest, for the most part, is the meat. You can also do vegetables, freeze them. So when you come home, it only takes 5 or 10 minutes to get things done, but you're healthier. So getting away from fast food is one of the most important things, because fast food is laden with bad fat and too much sodium. So and even if you do decide that, you have to stop and get something because, you didn't have time to stop, instead of getting the extra large fry, just get a regular fry. Instead of getting a double cheeseburger, get a cheeseburger. That will still keep you from being hungry, but not eating as much. And believe it or not, those small changes do make a lot of difference. So eating more fruits and vegetables. Now, if you're diabetic, which we'll touch on in a minute, you have to be a little bit more careful with fruits. But if you're not diabetic, eating more fruits and vegetables is such an important thing. And getting away from things that are processed. So when you do that, and then you start exercising. So exercise doesn't have to be, okay, I got to get out here and go an hour. No, start with 5 minutes. Start with 5 minutes walking inside the house if you can. If you have YouTube, you can, on YouTube these days, and most people have streaming services, so you can put it on your TV. You have these 5-minute exercises. Those 5-minute exercises start to add up. So you can do 3 of those 5-minute exercises, and that's 15 minutes. You go to 4, they know that 21 minutes of exercise changes your health. It doesn't have to be an hour. It can be an hour. That's a great goal, but it's not that if I can't exercise an hour, I don't do anything. So every little bit helps, and it starts to actually help with your blood pressure. So
you were talking when you were here. We were talking, and you showed me some exercises that can be done. For instance, like push-ups against the wall. Can you give us some examples of those?
Well, certainly. So if you're like at work, and you have, especially if you have a private office, or you're at home, most females, unless they're really exercise aficionados, are not crazy about getting down on the floor. So we use that as an excuse not to do anything. Well, you can do a push-up on the wall. So basically you stand near the wall with your feet about a foot from the wall. You put your hands up like you're on the floor, and you go up and down. And you can do push-ups that way. And you can get stronger, and then eventually if you get strong enough and you want to go down to the floor, you can. And when you get down to the floor, start with knee push-ups, but you don't have to do that. So just little things like that. If your knees bother you, squats. Squats are one of the best exercises out there. But if your knees are bothering you, you stand with your back against the wall, and you do the squat against the wall, so therefore the wall is supporting you. And you start with 5, and you keep building up. There are some exercises out there on YouTube, which will increase your nitric I think it's nitric oxide or nitric acid. I don't remember which one it is right now. But you do these exercises for about 5 minutes, and it'll decrease your blood pressure in 5 minutes. So doing those a couple times a day, I've actually lost inches on my waist, even though they're not waist exercises. They're exercises to try to bring this chemical up that makes your blood vessels dilate. And so that is basically how many of the blood pressure medicines work, by dilating blood vessels. So if we start doing these things, it will help anyone who has high blood pressure, and it might actually stop some people from getting it. And oftentimes when people start exercising and losing weight, we actually are able to take them off of medication, because a lot of us are on 2 to 3 medications for high blood pressure. And oftentimes we can get people down to 1, and eventually sometimes we can get them off of them altogether. But it takes a change in your state. It takes a change in your mind to want to be healthy, not just wanting to be cute, wanting to be healthy.
And I think that's a key point. We want to make sure that the focus is on health,
yes,
not on appearance. And as we see high blood pressure rates rise, I think it's important that we have these conversations. And you gave some key information regarding diet and also exercise. All right, and when we talk about diet, can you talk a little bit about liquid intake?
So I have seen patients who don't really eat much, but they drink all of their calories. So they'll drink 2 liters of soda a day. That's over 2,000 calories. And so I get those people to slow, especially if they're drinking colas, to decrease that. And I don't want them to do it immediately, because the caffeine in colas you get used to. So you gradually start decreasing down. I have had patients who have urinary incontinence. And so I worked in urology for 10 years. And so I've had patients who had to wear diapers because they refused to stop drinking tea. So tea, like coffee, is a diuretic. And I noticed in my own life, after I turned about 40, I couldn't drink tea after 5 p.m. in the evening, because if I did, I had to get up to go to the bathroom 2 or 3 times. So I just put those two and two together. I knew about the diuretic, but that's what affected me. I also noticed when about 20 years ago, if I drink orange juice in the morning, because of all that sugar, it acted almost like a diuretic. It was like a sugar dump, and I had to go to the bathroom more. So as we get older, different drinks and foods can make you feel worse. Oftentimes, women who are not diabetic, but if they overindulge in sweets, their hot flashes will be worse for the next 2 or 3 nights. So it's just when you notice something is a little bit different, it's like, did I eat something a little bit different here? So, all of us know to do it for our stomachs. When our stomach bothers us, we'll put it together. But what we eat and drink can affect many things. But I had a patient who drank 2 gallons of sweet tea every day. He was 39 years old, urinary incontinent, had to wear full diapers that changed him 4 or 5 times a day, was on the highest dose of insulin I had ever seen in my life. And I took the time to ask him what he was doing. And he preferred to be a 39-year-old man in diapers than stop drinking the tea. Once we finally got him decreasing the tea, he no longer needed the diapers, and he was able to come off insulin and just use oral medication. So what you drink is exceedingly important. I've had people who are nervous, and then and they feel that they have anxiety, which they could, but you start asking what they're doing. And some people are drinking 8 cups of coffee, okay? So all that caffeine is going to make your heart rate go up, can make you anxious. And then what are you putting in that coffee? So if people are putting 3 teaspoons of sugar or 14 spoons of sugar and cream, that's like almost 2 cups of sugar. You might as well have a whole cake every day. And so we don't think about what we're drinking as much as what we're eating. So water is best. So you have to be cautious of water. You really don't need more than a gallon, because if you do more than a gallon, unless you're sweating profusely, you have to stop being concerned about your electrolytes. So that's why people who are outside, that's the people who need Gatorade, or if they have nausea, vomiting. The rest of us don't really need that unless we've done something or doing something to cause, excessive loss of electrolytes. But water is best. But one of the things you can do is you can take like seltzer water or in those fizzy waters and put just maybe a quarter of juice in there, and that's a good drink, but it's 1/4 of the calories. So just little things like that, because a lot of us don't like water. So, and then you basically start decreasing it down, so you're putting less in there. But it almost tastes like a soda or a punch if you do that. So there's a lot of little things out there. Many of us know about those little packets that you can put in water. And so you can do the same thing with a salsa water and give it more of a taste of orange soda if you pick orange, or a punch or a grape or whatever. But it's a whole lot less calories than a regular soda. There are a lot of people who do and do not like artificial sweeteners. Some are better for you than others, and some people tolerate more than others. Right now, the medical community feels that stevia is fairly safe, but some of the other ones do have some issues. But it's just, learning your body. And I also work at a weight loss center. And with the weight loss center, I don't like the word diet as far as for weight loss, because diet is D-I-E-T, die, okay? So what you want to do is substitute. It's okay to have the apple pie and some ice cream 3 times a year, but you can't lose weight if you have it every night. So you substitute. You find Greek yogurt, apple Greek yogurt, and put some light granola on there, and that gives you some of the same flavor, but with higher protein and much better for you. And if you do yogurt, try to do the high protein, the Greek yogurt, because the regular yogurts, even the Activia, it's too much sugar and not enough protein in there. The Greek yogurts are much better for you because of the protein level.
I like the idea. You were talking about a substitute for apple pie and ice cream, and you said yogurt and granola. Do you put apples in it as well?
You can, but they're already flavored, like a Greek yogurt that's already flavored. But yes, you could. You can take regular Greek yogurt or vanilla Greek yogurt and put whatever fruit that you want in there. Now, as far as weight loss and the lower glycemic fruits are better. So glycemic, I mean glucose. So everybody knows grapes are real sweet, bananas are real sweet, pineapples are real sweet, mangoes are real sweet. Those are the things that are very high in glycemic, which basically means they have more carbs. What is a better carb, especially for weight loss, and if you're doing low carb or any of that kind of stuff, or keto, are berries. So strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, those are excellent, because most people don't even know, even on the old Atkins diet, they allowed you to have strawberries. So then would be oranges, pears, melons, but bananas, that sort of thing, and a grape, and especially if it's really sweet grape, it's just like a natural packet of a sugar cube. So it's good, but it's not something that you can eat often if your goal is weight loss and getting glucose under control, if you're like borderline diabetic or if you're diabetic. But yes, fruit and apples is surprising. Different apples have different glycemic indexes. Okay, so some of the apples that are sweeter are going to be higher in carbs. Gray apple is the one I often get is the Granny Smith because it has a little bit less glucose than even the other green one, the golden. It's golden or something. But all this stuff is online. You know, you just look up the carbohydrate, you know, of whatever you're trying to eat, and try to keep those levels down as far as weight loss. But one of the things we have to be concerned about for most of us is sodium. Because even if it's not doing anything to your blood pressure, as we get older, it will often cause a little bit of swelling in your legs and different things like that, and that can start to become uncomfortable.
And I know there's the sodium content in most things, especially packaged foods, but in general is usually higher than people realize.
Yes, and that's why it's more important if you make things yourself from scratch or close to scratch. It's a lot less sodium. So even if vegetables fresh is best, then frozen, then canned. And if you're doing canned, it's not the cans are bad; they keep better. But like if you have a can of green beans, just rinse them. Don't cook them in the fluid that they came. Just rinse them out and rinse some of that extra salt out. And then if you still need salt, then you're able to control it. So just rinsing most canned things when you can, because you can actually take a little taste of it. Because most canned things are already cooked, and if it's salty, rinse it. If it's not salty, rinse it.
And I think it's important to try different herbs for seasoning. I think most of us grew up with salt and pepper.
Yes.
And so we need to venture out and try other herbs, thyme,
right.
rosemary, and things like that.
And I tell folks to get garlic powder, get onion powder, not onion salt, and because that's adding more salt, and we're already put salt on it. So get the powder, onion powder, and garlic powder. And most of these things are available at the dollar store, so you can get spices now very inexpensively, and you can have 20 spices, extra spices, and that for $30 at some of these stores. So adding spices is a wonderful thing. Another very, very good and healthy fruit, and people don't think it's a fruit, but it actually is a fruit, is avocado. Avocado is excellent because it has good fat. And a lot of us say, ooh, avocado doesn't taste like anything. You're right. I don't like avocado. So what you do with an avocado is you season it with onion powder and garlic powder and a little pepper and a little salt. If you have a lemon, squeeze a lemon wedge on it. And that's also something you can do at a restaurant, when they give it to you. You can do guacamole. And because all of that stuff is very, very good for you. But it's a healthy fat, and it keeps you full. So oftentimes when I go to work, I'll have sausage and a whole avocado and some berries. And often I'm not hungry until 2 or 3 o'clock. Because the avocado is going to satiate you, and it's a good health. And we also have to be concerned about the oils that we use. Deep frying is just not that great for us, right? So the oils that are best would be olive oil and avocado oil, sautéing stuff on a low heat. Everybody knows deep fries is not great for us. Doing it on occasion is fine, but we don't need to have fried food every day because most of the time that fried food, sodium is going to go with it also.
Now, when you talk about the different oils, can you talk a little bit about the different types of olive oil?
So the healthiest olive oil are the extra virgin olive oils, and they're different ones. They taste a little bit different. One of the ones that is usually readily available is the one you showed me today, Jada. I think it's California something. It's at Walmart. It's all over the place, and it's very, very good for very, very good for sautéing. So, like, you can take and also one of my favorite things in the world, Jada knows, are air fryers. And so air fryers are really cheap nowadays. And I know it can be a lot of cleanup, but they have parchment papers for the Pacific air fryers, and that makes cleanup so quickly. You just pull it out and just dump it. And if you want, sometimes you don't even have to wash the other part out because it hasn't even gotten any oil on it. So that makes things easy. So I was telling Jada I did fried fish in the air fryer for the first time. I love my chicken wings in the air fryer because it gets so crispy you don't have to put any breading on them. I do steak, I do pork chop, and because it's giving you the taste of deep fry, but you're not frying it, and you can grill it and all that other stuff. And so you put a little bit of olive oil or avocado oil, kind of spritz it on there, then you stick it in the air fryer, and so you're getting the taste of deep fry, but without all of that oil. So, but anything with olive oil is going to be good for you, anything with avocado oil. And so, like, even with dressings and things like that, there are dressings out at Walmart, and I know they're at Food Lion, and they're made with avocado oil. So those are more healthy dressings than something made with canola oil. They have duped us thinking canola oil is healthy, but it really is not.
Good to know. Now, let's talk a little bit about, issues with our kidneys.
Mm-hmm. So oftentimes with our kidneys, we will not know anything is wrong until a lab test is done. And when medical folks start warning us about kidney stuff, we really, really, really need to be responsive. So oftentimes when folks start having trouble with their kidneys, it's due to uncontrolled high blood pressure or uncontrolled diabetes. And those are the usual culprits for problems with the kidney. There are other people who have certain other diseases that will affect the kidney, but the great majority are from those first two causes. So that is why keeping the high blood pressure under control is a great thing. One of the nicknames for high blood pressure is the silent killer because most people do not feel when their blood pressure is high. Every once in a while, someone will get a headache, and that's with blood pressure probably 200 and something over like 120, which is getting ready to get you in trouble. Oftentimes people will start sending people to the emergency room when it's that high. But taking the medication as directed, working with your medical professional to try to get off some of the medicines, and if a medicine doesn't agree with you, call them and talk to them and try to get it changed versus just coming off of it and waiting the 3 months until you go back and see them. That's a no-no. So if a medicine, any kind of medicine, is causing problems, call the office and try to get something changed versus just abandoning the whole thought process.
And can you talk a little bit about things that will help purify the body and things that cause damage? Like, what effect does heavy drinking have on the body?
So for drinking, for females, most of us don't realize it, but for females, we're only supposed to have one drink a day. And men are 2 drinks a day because they can drink more because they are more muscular. So the muscle helps them. So 1 drink a day is 4 ounces of wine, a shot of liquor, and a shot is those little things those little cups that I think are about 2 ounces or less than 2 ounces. But whatever a shot glass is for hard liquor like a Scotch, gin, that type of thing, and 12 ounces of beer. So that is a serving. And so how a lot of us will do, we will take a cup and put about 8 ounces of hard liquor in there and put some soda in there and call it a day. Well, that's really about 4 drinks of alcohol. So if you do moderate alcohol, which is what I'm talking about, as females, 1 drink a day, unless you have known problems with your liver, it's okay. But anything over that will start affecting your liver. So those of us who just drink on the weekend, don't drink at all during the week and drink on the weekend, we'll drink 4 to 6 drinks then on the weekend, it's affecting our liver. So they have done biopsies of livers with a person still alive. They put a needle in there and then pull out the stuff with the liver, and they've looked at it, and the liver will become fatty. It's temporarily, but it's a whole lot more fat glands in there because the liver is trying to protect itself. And also for anyone trying to lose weight, if you're doing excess alcohol, that is a lot of empty calories. And if you drink more, then you're usually going to eat more. So it kind of stops your progress. So I always suggest to my weight loss folks, be very, very careful with the alcohol because it's empty calories, and you're going to eat more and derail what you're trying to do. But alcohol can affect many things. A lot of people don't know excessive alcohol not only it can affect your liver, but it can affect your heart. It can affect your the rest of your digestive system. And a lot of people who drink excessively will get pancreatitis. So and that's a very, very painful thing. And I've seen young people in their 20s get it. Also, drinking can cause an alcoholic hepatitis. And if you also add that along with some other hepatitis that people don't know, it can actually kill you. So I had a first cousin who died at 28, 28-year-old female, died from a form of alcohol abuse called esophageal varices because she started drinking when she was 12. Mm-hmm. So you have to be very, very careful on excess of anything, specifically alcohol. And if you're drinking alcohol more than what I talked about, be very, very careful with acetaminophen or Tylenol. Because with the Tylenol, don't go above what they talk about. But if you're drinking more alcohol, it can be damaging because of the excessive alcohol.
And so when you talk about the alcohol and Tylenol, can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Well, most people don't know. It took them years to put Tylenol out. Tylenol was originally a prescription. But most people don't know to this day Tylenol has a antidote. There is an antidote for Tylenol. Most people don't know that. So that's how dangerous Tylenol can be. It's actually an antidote to a medical folk know. So with anything over the counter, don't go more than what is on the bottle unless a medical person is going to tell you to. And basically they're kind of changing it into a prescription, briefly. So like if you twist your ankle and you haven't really sprained it, they might say take 3 Advil or take 4 Advil every 8 hours with food. So they're changing it basically into a prescription thing. You never really hear us saying take 3 Tylenol. You'll hear the Advil, but you won't hear the Tylenol because we got to be very, very careful on the Tylenol. So most people don't like people taking more than 3,200 to 4,000 grams of acetaminophen or Tylenol a day because then you can start getting too much. And say like if you have a cold medicine that has Tylenol in it and you don't really realize it, then you add some straight up Tylenol, and then you get something else with Tylenol in it. It can go over pretty quickly. And we have to watch the children with the Tylenol products because some of them taste too good, and kids will get in there and we have to take them to the emergency room to get it out. So you have to be cautious with anything over the counter, and unless a medical person has told you otherwise for a brief period of time, take it as directed.
And I think you've shared some key points, and hopefully people have gained some insight. We talked about the importance of diet and limiting processed food and sugar. Mm-hmm. And you gave us some information about which fruits have a higher fructose level, and also the importance of water. And one of the things we talked about, adding juice and what have you, but even adding like cucumbers, things like that.
Mm-hmm. cucumber and lemon, and put it in a pitcher. Cut the cucumber up, and it's delicious. It's like a different taste, but it's very, very refreshing. So, and that's a way to get more water in.
And I know teas have become very popular. And can you just give us some suggestions of some natural things that people can do, particularly as they start their day?
So, what is the first thing you mentioned? Did you say tea?
Mm-hmm.
So there are all types of different teas out there now. Like this, I have a cold, so I was in Charlotte this morning, and Jada asked me what kind of tea. She said echinacea. I said, yeah, give me echinacea because that's supposed to help with immune support. So I have a cold, so I took the tea that's supposed to help with immune support. Peppermint tea helps a lot of people with digestion. Things like hibiscus tea can help with high blood pressure. Chamomile tea helps most people calm down. And so they're just different ones that do different things. Now, they know green tea is very healthy. It's healthy. It helps with antioxidants. And with the green tea, you can add lemon. Matcha tea is supposed to be very, very healthy, but I have to admit I haven't tried it yet. But it's also supposed to be very, very healthy for you. So oftentimes, especially people with sluggish bowels, having something warm, tea or coffee, will actually help people get to the bathroom and eliminate, before they start their day. But just like I had tea and honey this morning, and Jada, if you notice, I stopped coughing. So some of the natural stuff is true. Just like they used to, if you all remember the Campbell's chicken soup that all of us grew up on, they've actually investigated, and there's something in that combination of chickens and noodles and broth that actually helps with colds. They've actually proven it. Also, people with diabetes, cinnamon, sprinkling cinnamon and stuff. They also have the cinnamon little capsules and stuff, because they found that they were giving people different desserts, and the people who were eating apple pie, their glucose would go down, but it was only apple pie. And they researched it, and they found that it was the cinnamon in the apple pie that actually helped glucose levels. So it's a lot of natural things out there. But I am not by any means saying take a teaspoon of cinnamon and put it in your mouth and swallow it. I am not saying that because then you can get in trouble because you're going to inhale it because it's a powder. But I'm saying, if you can put cinnamon, sprinkle a little cinnamon on your oatmeal if you eat that, different things like that can be healthy and helpful.
And I know some people drink like turmeric and things like they put that in their water to help with digestion and immune system.
So turmeric is basically a natural medication, very similar to like ibuprofen or Aleve, that sort of thing, which are non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. And we're too lazy to say that all the time, so we say NSAIDs. So turmeric is like a natural NSAID, so it's a natural medication that helps with inflammation. Another thing that helps a lot of people with digestion is bone broth. So if you remember back in the days when our moms boiled chicken, they would make some soup or something, and that's again probably why chicken soup is pretty good, because it's really bone broth. Because when you take that whole chicken and boil it, more stuff comes off than. So, especially if it's boiled for a longer period of time. So, but you can make your own bone broth with bones. But the easier way, of course, is to buy it in the store. So it's thicker and deeper than just bouillon. But it's very, very good for healing your stomach, and that's one of the things that helped me tremendously. with healing my stomach with bone broth. It's a little expensive, but there are some brands out there that are less expensive, and they actually even sell it at Dollar Tree. But the kettle broths, those are the ones that are a little bit more expensive, so like $6 for 8 ounces. But it's very, very healthy, so that's why it's actually easier just to do it yourself and get you can use what are those appliances we were talking about today, Jada?
Like the slow cooker.
So like you do a slow cooker, and you crock pot, or you can use the faster ones. But there are recipes out there everywhere. Just Google whatever you want to do, and if you want to see a video on it, YouTube. Everything is out there available on YouTube now. You can just about build a house off of YouTube.
And I think now during this season is a good time, as it's getting cooler, it's a great time to just make soup from scratch. Get your vegetables, and if you eat meat, put some chicken, and do it the old-fashioned way. Just turn it down low and let it simmer. And I think if people try different vegetables, and as we talked about earlier, try different seasonings and spices, it's amazing how your body, once you start eating healthy, your body begins to appreciate those flavors more. So when you start to cut back, particularly on processed sugar, then you no longer have that craving for it.
And sometimes I had many, many years ago, I stopped sugar totally, and I remember it was Valentine's Day, and we went to something, and I had sugar. It was actually nasty because I had been away from it so long that it was too sweet. You would have thought if you looked at my face that I had just swallowed a lemon, because it was, after I had been away from it, it was just so unnatural. So that's an example of your body getting used to being healthy. And your body saying, no, I really don't want this. You can force it on me, but this is not good for you. Your body will prefer to be healthy. For you to eat healthy.
All right. At this time, I want to open up the floor. Does anyone have any questions or comments? All right. Well, Cynthia, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing information with us. I hope that it's been helpful and at least has given people something to think about.
I have a question, if you can.
Yes.
Sure.
Dr. James, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
Do you have any suggestions for a renal diet?
So with renal diets, they're often very sodium again. Most of the times they limit the protein levels. Those are the two most important things that come up to play. It depends on the level of damage to the kidney. So as people's creatinine, so that's a lab level we look at. As it's getting higher, the people start getting closer and closer to dialysis. So you have to watch cheeses and different other things. But when your kidneys start getting totally damaged, getting closer to needing dialysis, you have to watch a protein intake. But hopefully, sir? I didn't understand your question.
I wanted to wait till you got finished talking. I was just with permission to speak after you finished talking. Go ahead.
Go ahead, talk. Go ahead.
Well, that was a very interesting question that he asked. But I want to say, great show, great information. You gave out a lot of wealth of information up here. Keep doing what you're doing. What is your position? You said you are a nurse. Is that what you said you were?
No, I'm a physician assistant.
A physician assistant. Okay.
So also known as a PA. So I have a master's of medicine.
You have a master's
master's of medicine. So if you're familiar with nurse practitioners, that would be the closest medical professional to me. So I work directly with, get the same assignments that most nurse practitioners do. So I do a lot of the same things physicians do also. So PAs have been around 50 years. We started as medics in the Army in the Vietnam War. That's where we came from.
Well, what I was made to understand about your position and nurse practitioners is that they know more than doctors.
Well, we don't really know more than doctors. We're just able to explain it better.
Oh, okay.
We're able to explain. We're able to put it in English a little bit better. Now, there are probably some things I know more than your average GP about because I specialized for 10 years. So I probably know a little bit more about urology than someone but that's because I did it for 10 years. So if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Now, I want to go back to the question that Dr. James asked. When you said about the protein, would that be like bananas? You got to eat bananas and different stuff like that?
So protein primarily is meat.
Chicken,
so
chicken.
That would be beef, chicken, right. Fish, animal, like liver.
Which we're not supposed to be eating anyway.
It depends on which type of diet you're on and what your kidneys are doing in the first place. But so that would be meat. So there's protein in other things like beans, but the highest protein would come from meat.
What's your intake on? Because I've come across and I do a lot of study and research, and I came across sugar diabetes come from us eating meat.
I don't believe. I think the diabetes would be more from bad lipid, but primarily overindulgence in carbohydrates, and combining when I say lipids, talking about fat, combining fat and higher glucose sugar. So basically like cakes and pies, especially the man-made, the stuff that's made in a factory versus the cake that grandma made would actually be better for you because it was made with butter versus margarine. So I don't believe that meat is causing the problem. I think it's more like carbohydrates and bad oils. Because if they look at people doing a keto diet, a low-carb diet, it decreases people's glucose, and some people are actually able to get off of medications. Man has been eating meat for forever. We have not been eating all of this new fake stuff only for about the last 80 years.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sister Jada.
Yes.
I wanted to ask the sister something, if I may have permission to speak.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, this is right up my alley, Jada. So you know I got a comment when it comes to health and healing and nutrition. Sister, my name is Forrest Nance. I have been plant-based now for the last 11 years. I want to ask your take now. You said your highest form of protein is meat. Well, I would have to say, sister, next time you come on.
You're right. There are other plant-based things out like soy and there are many things out there. You are correct.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if you take spirulina, which you know is a green-blue algae, it has your 8 essential amino acids, and not only that, but it has more protein in spirulina than a porterhouse or an ounce of steak. That's through my research, sis. Okay, so you do have a higher intake of something that is more blood cleansing for our system when you deal with the green powders, the wheatgrass powder, the barley grass powder, which I intake, the chlorella, okay, and also the like I said, the spirulina, which I put in my smoothies every day. All right, and also, what's the fiber? What is the fiber? Because that's very essential as we get older. The fiber intake in meat is what? Is it low or is it high?
Zip.
That's what I'm saying. So when you eat meat, what about the people who eat meat just about every day or every other day? How long does it take to digest chicken, steak, even fish before the person puts another piece of meat or fish in their system? Doesn't give a chance to. It doesn't give the system time to really clear out. And also, just
it's usually 48 to 72 hours for your average person. And for
Right.
people with sluggish digestion, is even longer than that. You're absolutely correct. So
Yes.
for plant-based people who know the research like you do, the spirulinas, you guys know the stuff to get and can go to can order this stuff or go to the herbal store. All hats to you. That is what you want to do. It's
Yes,
just
ma'am.
an average person is not going to do that much work.
Right.
From a medical point of view, I can't get people to stop going to stop eating ice cream every day when they're diabetic. So when you do all that knowledge, I mean, people literally will do a half a gallon of ice cream every day and be diabetic and wonder why it's not under control.
Right.
Because
Because that's been proven. We have a brother up here, Rashad Al-Amin, who has helped. He's been a naturopath for 40 years, and he has actually helped people reverse their diabetes because they tell you can't be reversed and you're on the medication for life, and that's not true.
I disagree with you with that. I agree with you totally. It can be reversed when you change what you're eating. Absolutely.
And also, it has been, yes. And just to share with you, sis, I'm a distributor for Dr. Lee's green tea. Now, you said green tea is a superfood, and you are 1,000% correct on that. Also, just to let you know, I'm a distributor of the most potent, and I don't say it just to sell it, but the chart is on T4Health.com, -health.com. It has 710 on the ECGC, which is makes it the most potent for. It's organic, it's non-radiated. I'm about to pass out some flyers in my neighborhood. I'm up here in Newark, New Jersey, and I deal with the.
Is it matcha?
No, it's not matcha. It's even more potent than matcha tea because I use matcha too in my smoothies in the powder form. But Dr. Lee's green tea, several people on this network have bought the green tea from me. The green tea from me. I've had John Boston, who's the owner of the company, come up here. In fact, I got him coming on in 2 weeks on my show on the same network. So sister, 710 ECGC, and it was compared to all the green teas in the world, and one came 60% close to it. You know, that's a 40% gap. So up here on this network, we try to educate because I know you're familiar with, and I know Jada knows this scripture. My people perish for lack of knowledge. And this network is going to sponsor in August, the second Saturday in August. I don't have a date near me, but we're sponsoring a Grown Folks Talking Health Forum and Networking Conference. It's going to be from 12 to 6 at the Abyssinian Baptist Church in Newark, New Jersey, and we're going to start advertising that in March of next year. So maybe, just maybe, sis, I don't know if you can make the trip. I don't know what neck of wood you're in, but we're going to sponsor something big. It's a big banquet hall. We're going to have nice live jazz there. And we're going to have keynote speakers, okay? So, like I said, thank you, because you are pushing health. Health is wealth, all right? And just thank you for Sister Jada picking you as our guest this evening because I enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jada.
Oh, you're welcome.
Hello. Can I ask another question? This is Dr. James again.
Yes.
Real quick. We're talking about diabetes again. I understand. I know that, diet can affect the diabetes. We know that. But can you talk about some of the other things that can cause diabetes other than diet? Like, for instance, being obese. Let me ask you a question. I know there's type 1 and type 2. Type 1, could be congenital and so forth and so on. But with type 2, let me get to the point. Can an injury cause you to become diabetic?
It would have to be an injury probably to the abdomen affecting the pancreas. So that could be feasible. Oftentimes they are really looking hard into viruses that is affecting the kidneys. But you touched on.
No, I'm saying diabetes, not dialysis. Diabetes, yeah. Viruses cause infection. Infection can cause you to become diabetic, right?
So viruses can hit because people can have what's considered normal levels. Then 6 months later, their pancreas is not doing anything. So they're believing that the viruses can also affect that. But when I first started school, or when I was in college, there were only young children with type 1. And then type 2 was most of the older adults. Now we have many children with type 2 diabetes, and that is because we're overfeeding them junk.
Yeah, that's another thing. They're probably obese. But also, infection can cause diabetes. It's also injury can cause diabetes. Well, especially injury to muscles, that might cause diabetes. I'm just saying that there are other things that can cause diabetes other than
the injury to muscles, right? is going to hit your kidneys more. But you have to, the majority of people, unless they have a severe thyroid or other glandular problems, and so there are females who have something called PCOS, which is estrogen, that causes obesity. But the majority of people are obese because they overeat. And most of the time,
eclampsia, when a woman is pregnant and getting eclampsia, that can cause elevation in the glucose, right? That can cause diabetes, eclampsia from pregnancy.
Well, pregnancy itself can cause, just before you get to the eclamptic part, which is usually the third trimester. But that's one of the reasons all women are checked for diabetes during pregnancy. And they give them a glucose tolerance test, because pregnancy in and of itself can cause a gestational diabetes or diabetes that is just with pregnancy. Oftentimes those women, 10, 15, 30 years later, might develop diabetes at a higher rate than people who aren't. So,
all right, I just wanted to go over it. There's multiple things that can cause diabetes other than just food, right? All right.
But when you mention obesity, it's still food, because most of the times we're overeating, unless it's a glandular problem or a problem with hormones.
I have a question.
And there are some people out there like that. Yes.
Hi, thank you for all the information. I just want to give a quick story. I went into the hospital. My sugar was 1100. I was in ICU, and they wanted to give me, they gave me the insulin and metformin. They wanted to give me heparin. I questioned it. I told them, no, we won't be laying down, so I didn't take the heparin. I just got up and started dancing. But when I left the hospital with metformin and insulin. Oddly, I was grateful for the insulin because it taught me the simplicity of taking the needle, where people think in their heads, they'd rather not do that, but if it's going to get you under control, it's not as difficult as one would think. However, when I left the hospital, I never refilled my prescriptions. No one would be living or walking around with 1100 sugar. That was an acute issue that the emergency room took care of, and it had to do with what I had taken in over the last 48 or 24 to 48 hours, right? I knew this. So when
some medicines can also give you an acute thing, specifically steroids.
That is correct. And so to Dr. James' question, I was going to mention also that it's not necessarily the injury that's giving you diabetes, but the medication that they give you for the injury, because the steroids will cause or can cause diabetes. People who have asthma, it can cause diabetes, and because of the steroid, because the albuterol and all that other stuff, even in the children. But what I did was I realized, again, that the acute issue was taken care of. I never refilled my prescription. Never my prescriptions. But I did request to see an endocrinologist, because what I told them, I know what my sugar level was when I came in, but nobody told me that my pancreas wasn't working. So I needed to see this. So we have to be really we have to be educated, receive the education, process the education, and then go to the professionals with a bit of knowledge. And you don't have to know it all. Just know to ask questions. I'm a why person, so my brain is always in why mode. We need to understand and not be afraid to have a conversation, not just to listen and do, but to have a conversation with professionals who are really in control of your health and your life, and have the conversation. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. Don't be afraid to learn more, because when you learn more, you can teach more. Thank you very much.
Exactly. And I just want, and thank you so much for that, but I just want to reiterate, when you stopped, didn't refill the medication, you were under medical care. So it wasn't like you stopped taking the medicine and your glucose went back up to 1100. So you and the medical people were able to figure out what was going on, and you were able to keep it down. Because I don't want anyone with 1100 to stop taking the medicine if they haven't figured it out, because that is deadly. So, but you actually did your research, your due diligence, and got to an endocrinologist, and you and the physician were able to take care of your body. So I applaud you on that. But again, you were working with a medical person.
No, now let me share. Wait a minute, Dr. James. I hear what you're saying, and so in what you're saying, no, we don't want anyone to just stop. That's why I said be educated, get education, ask the questions, know your body. No, we didn't do that under medical care. We did that under Ivanene care, because Ivanene knew that pancreas needed to be understood. And once they did those tests, my A1C has been 6 or lower for 2 years with no medication. But it is about diet. It is about understanding. It is about
but you were working with someone. You were working with someone. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So as long as somebody is able to check your A1C and all that stuff, it's not like you just went cold on your own. So
no, I did, but it's okay. I understand what you're saying. Okay.
I just want to say this based on what Ivanene just said. Yeah, she's right. Certain medications can cause, a hyperglycemia, which is elevation in sugar. It doesn't necessarily have to be diabetic, but it causes sugar to go up, and that could be temporary or that could be chronic. But prednisone is a steroid that is notorious for raising your blood sugar when the doctor gives you prednisone, to certain people for breathing, asthmatic, so on. But another thing is, trauma definitely can cause you to become diabetic, and not necessarily from the medicine. Because if you have massive trauma, injury, it can cause a sympathetic response. And that chronic sympathetic response causes a fight-flight reaction. And that fight-flight reaction, one of the things that the body does when there's a trauma or injury or fight-flight reaction, sympathetic response, the body raises the blood sugar to give you more energy in order for you to do that. In other words, for you to run or fight, you need more energy in your body to do that. So it causes an automatic raise in your blood sugar. So that's why I said injuries can cause you to become diabetic. If you have a serious injury to your body, that can keep your sugar raised for a long period of time. And it doesn't have to really do anything with medication. That's all I want to say. All right?
Yes. Okay. And also, it's too deep to get into because we could be talking to 12 o'clock. But any chronic inflammatory thing can cause problems with both. And if you're under chronic stress. So if you're under chronic stress, your body's own steroids makes problems, and that can cause a lot of also. So that's one of the things that we started with. You got to start taking care of yourself, doing things that you enjoy, just to bring everything down and not be totally stressed out all the time. But chronic stress can increase inflammatory markers and everything else.
And as much as I've enjoyed this, especially towards the end of the lively conversation, we are over our time. So before we get off, I want to make you aware of the upcoming shows. We have the Pink Sofa with Carol Lucille tonight, 7:30 to 9:30. And on Wednesday, and these are all East Coast times, 6 p.m. to 7:30, we have No Longer Silent with Francesca Nunez. 8 to 9, we have Vision Care with John Monroe. And 9:30 to 11, we have Concerned Citizens Coalition with Everett Gardner and Hamp Smith. I want to thank you all for checking in with us. I want to thank you for your participation. I want to give a big thank you to Cynthia for sharing her information with us. And hopefully this has been worthwhile to our listeners.
Yes.